beautifully designed. And of course, it lent itself perfectly to the main idea of the film, which was make it an end of pier story. So it looked wonderful then. It was a very, very happy working atmosphere. It was both a holiday and a learning experience. An immensely happy time. I've been back many times to Brighton subsequently, and it's very sad to see the collapse of the pier and to see it about to fall into the sea unless something's done to rescue it, and I hope to goodness something will.
Although the pier started to lose its cultural profile, it remained a source of inspiration for artists and visionaries throughout the 60s and 70s. Gavin Henderson, who later became director of the Brighton Festival, remembers the part it played in the festival's early years.
1967, the first Brighton Festival, and Ian Hunter's view, he was the founding director, was that the piers should play a great part. You know, they should be symbolic of Brighton. He'd come from Bath, where he'd been running sort of the Baroque music there with you heard him in it, but he wanted the Brighton Festival to be very much a child of the 60s and a kind of frothy, fizzy event, and the piers were very much a part of those very early festivals, and the West Pier in particular. All sorts of strange and wonderful things happened, and they were, you know, for those of us who were young and growing up and sort of artistically minded in the town, they were revelatory. There was a group from France, Lazare Bachet, les structures sonores, which were sort of sculptures that you stroked, and they made wonderful sounds. And a number of projects of that kind happened in this festival pavilion. It was very much the sort of social hub of the festival, late night performances and things. And then in 69, I think it was, I became a sort of helping with the festival as a gopher and sort of general stage manager and errand boy. And the Music Theatre Ensemble premiered the very first opera by Harrison Birtwistle. And I was there when it was being rehearsed, again late into the night, and John Cox was the director, and two old chaps came in at the back and were talking away. Harry Birtwistle, the then young Harry Birtwistle, turned around and said, "Why don't you two belt up? You know, we're trying to rehearse here. You've got the rest of the pier to go out and talk on. You know, just shut up and clear off with you." And something made me turn around, he said, and I looked at them and I thought, I know this. It was Laurence Olivier and William Walton.
It was the railways that took hundreds of thousands of trippers to the seaside in the mid-19th century. The urban working classes had statutory holidays for the first time, and also spare cash. The seasides, Brighton amongst them, were the workers' playgrounds, where anything was possible, and everything shimmered with excitement and exoticism. The late Brian Spielman of the West Pier Trust adored Brighton.
Nowhere else like it. Nowhere else like it at all. It's got everything. It's got slightly continental flavour. It's got every kind of person and amenity. It's got theatres, it's got bookshops, it's got museums, it's got lovely architecture, fascinating. It's got the Sussex Downs, and it's got a marvellous mixture of good taste and vulgarity.
What do you think you're doing, you?
It's got one of the most beautiful vulgar buildings in the world, and it caters for all pleasures.
In bold.
And it's dedicated to joy, and I think this is marvelous.
The most dazzling Brighton bauble of them all was the West Pier. In its heyday, it epitomised the glamorous, classless, aspirational vision of the seaside holiday, where the dull drudgery of working life could be abandoned along with one's inhibitions at the water's edge. All manner of exotic attractions could be found on the pier. Crazy mirrors, racing cars, bird warblers, ant exhibits, auto golf, phono discs, waxworks, palmistry, and even a pier tickler. Ask. Peter and Shirley Marsh used to own a fishing tackle shop on the pier in the 1950s.
After the war, Brighton was very, very popular. People had nowhere else to go but England. You used to have loads of people staying in the hotels, and they were the people who used to come on the pier. And I mean, holiday times, it was unbelievable. I mean, there were thousands and thousands of people. And at the end of the first season, I bought the fishing tackle shop there and stayed there for the next 12 years. We sold fishing tackle and bait and hired rods out. And the fishing was, amazing. The size of the catch and the size of the actual fish are something that nobody's seen for many years, really big place.
Yeah,
2 or
you're
3
doing
pounds.
Yeah.
Dover soles and pollock and bass and big black bream and things that you don't get today.
One of the nice things about the pier was you used to see shoals of porpoise, weren't they?
Oh, porpoises, yes,
You never see them now. You never see them, do you? And you used to see a whole load of them all sort of leaping out of the water. Beautiful.
One day, and I don't suppose there's ever been one since, we had a
So, yeah.
bowstring shark, which is about 30 feet long. Enormous. Laying there with all this crusted with barnacles. Because they're quite harmless, they only eat plankton. And there was a chap swimming, had swum out, and all these anglers on the lower deck were waving and gesticulating to him about this shark, because there was this enormous dorsal fin. And that chap with big feet in Australia, he wouldn't have stood a chance against this bloke. He was on the beach in about 10 seconds. There were 2 amusement arcades. As you came on, you had the racetrack. We didn't have a bumper car as such. It was petrol or 2-stroke, I seem to remember.
Like the go-karts.
Yeah, that sort of thing. And then underneath that was the amusement arcade, which was the ghost train and, of course, machines,
A big weighing machine that you set on and they weighed you.
Weights or something.
And then the candy floss and toffee apple kiosks all along there. And then people demonstrating and selling things that you don't get nowadays, do you?
Yeah. Then you had the rifle range underneath. You shot two rifles. The offices were upstairs. Mrs. Hires, she had a bingo. Then at the end we had the Richaud collection. He was a pantomime. He had a proper, like a commissionaire, used to stand outside. It was models.
It was a cardboard cutout thing of Jiving Judy. He'd stand it there and she'd start jiving and dancing about all by herself. No strings or anything. And because he'd had a whole crowd all standing around watching, and they'd all buy one. They're very cheap, but he'd sell loads of them and they'd go on. And Tappy, this little man, used to be in the cupboard thing at the side. And when he wanted him to dance, Roy Cow would had a hook on the back of it, and he'd sort of just hook it on this nylon thing and say, "Dance, Judy," and she'd start dancing, and it was the man at the back pulling the string. And certain times in the day when the sun was in the right position, it would light up this line, and he couldn't open the shop. Then he had to wait for the sun to move around.
The post-war boom in seaside holidaymaking didn't last long. Holiday camps, caravans and package holidays competed for a share in the holiday market in the 1960s and 70s. Nevertheless, from 1964, Alan Gale chose the West Pier as the venue for his old-time musical. His son is the actor Peter Duncan.
He happened to be down at Brighton and came across the West Pier and saw the concert hall in the middle. And it was really what you'd call a white elephant. The pier was in decline and the bottom part of it was pretty even derelict then. Nothing went on in there. And this concert hall bit in the middle was never used. And he went to the people that owned it and he said, "Can I try a show in there?" And it was very successful. It was an old-time musical show with a chairman. And they used to have what they call concertants. Groups of people singing. My mum was in it. She was a soprano. My dad was what they call a light comedian. He used to tell very bad jokes. He used to sort of try and hire a celebrity chairman every year. Fred Stone did it, and Billy Milton, very famous entertainer, he did it. Bill Pertwee did it. And part of the chairman's routine was that they'd have to drink a lot of beer. This was a bit of a scam, if you could drink as much beer as the chairman, you were better than him. But he used to have a trick glass, and he used to have a glass inside a glass, and you just used to fill up the gap. So it looked like he was drinking a pint of beer, and he'd have 7 or 8 to show. The show would stop, and out would come a waiter
a season there in 1966 with Alan Gale. It all started off in a very strange way because Alan got onto my agent and I was living in the town, you know, and offered a rather small sum of money. My agent said, oh, I'll have a word with him. And he said, I'll tell you what, I'm going to ask him whether he'd like you to go on shares with him. So I said, okay. He said, well, you're living in the town. He said, you must make something. But he said, you never know, do you? The thing was that quite early on, my wages worked out in 1 week on shares as £300. And that was pretty good in 1966. Alan was furious. Absolutely furious.
See ya.
Pay out in pound notes on the pier outside the stage door. And it was a bit blowing. And he was a bit cross at me because he knew he'd got to pay me this sum of money again. And he was counting it and the wind got up and blew some of the pound notes away. And we were rushing about the pier trying to grab these. He said, now see what you made me do. Nothing to do with me at all.
The West Pier's rot set in